Hi, everyone. So we finally make it to our blockbuster event here, to the biggest event of the Civil War, and that is the Battle of Gettysburg. So here we go here. Day one, a terrible storm is brewing, and it just so happens that it all takes place at a small little town about 45 minutes away from us, a little place called Gettysburg. Now, our objective here for the next 3 days is to identify the causes that led to the South's failure and the North's success in the Battle of Gettysburg. To start things off, from Fredericksburg and Chancellorsville and going back to the Peninsula Campaign and maybe even going back the whole way to the first Bull Run, the Confederacy was riding extremely high. It almost seemed like they could do anything they wanted to. Despite the fact that they lost Stonewall Jackson, the South had almost everything they wanted going in their direction. They had all the momentum. So Robert E. Lee decides to invade Pennsylvania to try to end this war right here, right now. He wants to capitalize. He thinks that the Confederacy probably can't fight an extremely long war. So here it is. Here's the opportunity. Finish the war with one final death blow right here, right now. The North is at a terrible low point, and Lincoln now needs to find a new commander. Joseph Hooker wasn't going to cut it, and he was all a mess after the Battle of Chancellorsville, never to mind the fact that he got knocked out mid-battle. But Abraham Lincoln needs to find a new commander. He decides, after asking multiple commanders to lead his army, and they each denied it, they each decided they didn't want to take it, he appoints George Meade, and he doesn't even give him a choice. He just gives them a piece of paper. A messenger gives him a piece of paper to tell him, you are going to take command of the Army of the Potomac, the main army of the Union. And he gets this paper 2 days before the Battle of Gettysburg, and now it's his job to lead the army. And he wanted no part of it, but he did say to that aide, he said, I will protest this later. For now, and then he goes on and gives the orders as to where he wants the army to go. But the guy doesn't even want the job, but he reluctantly takes it, and he starts to get the army moving as fast as he possibly can. Little did anyone know that George Meade was absolutely very well suited to leading the Union Army in this battle. With how he's going to have to fight a defensive battle, he is perfectly suited for it. Now, he's not perfectly suited to be an attacking style of guy. That's not his thing. He's not a Ulysses S. Grant type of general. But George Meade is a great defender, and that's exactly what they needed here at Gettysburg. So Lee, after having all the momentum going in the way of the South, decides this is a great opportunity for us to finish this war right here, right now. And so he invades Pennsylvania. While the Union does not even have a commander, they're already in Pennsylvania. They've taken over Carlisle, Chambersburg, Harrisburg, York. Well, let me take it back a step. They didn't fully take over Harrisburg. They did take over the area of Camp Hill, just west of the Susquehanna River, but they never actually took over Harrisburg. But the South is taking almost everything they want out of South Central Pennsylvania. The only place that they did really want, but they did not take full control over, was Harrisburg. They wanted to take Harrisburg because that was the main supply line of the Union Army. But there was a small Union force located just west of the Susquehanna River in protection of Harrisburg, and they were lucky to be able to stop the Confederates from cutting that rail line, that main supply line for the Union. They also the Confederates did take in their journey through here, they took the town of York, Pennsylvania, and we gave them $28,000. We gave them sugar, molasses, beef, pork, all sorts of different materials. And then they went on their way. They did not burn down our town. They left us fine, outside of the fact that they took a lot of our supplies and a lot of our money. But the Confederacy, and they had only taken over York and a lot of these places for one day, and that day was June 28th of 1863. But then they got notification from Lee. We got to set up shop. We got to get our forces concentrated. And the place that seemed closest to them to get our forces concentrated was a crossroads town of Gettysburg. The great thing about Gettysburg was it was easy to get to from York, the Harrisburg area, Chambersburg, Carlisle, all those places where the Confederates were. It was easy for them to be able to concentrate and take main roads to get to Gettysburg. So it was easy peasy when it comes to what Lee was trying to do here. He didn't necessarily want to fight a battle at Gettysburg, but a battle just happened to really hit him. A battle came upon him. And again, he needed to get his forces together because they were in all sorts of different places in South Central Pennsylvania. Gettysburg just so happened to be the place where they could concentrate very, very quickly because of all the roads that connected right there. George Meade did a pretty nice job of getting the Union Army, towards Gettysburg and to go catch up with the Confederates as fast as they could. So George Meade, despite the fact that he really didn't want to be the commander, he did a nice job of concentrating those forces and getting the Union forces on the move to go catch up with the Confederates as they were already in Pennsylvania. Now, Lee didn't really want to fight a battle in Gettysburg, and he specifically told his officers, his corps commanders and his divisional commanders, he told them, do not fight until we are concentrated. Well, two of his men, two of his underlings didn't listen to that order, and those guys are Robert Rhodes and Henry Heath. Now, the excuse and the myth is that they were going to Gettysburg for a supply of shoes. That's all bogus. In all reality, these guys saw a very small force of Union cavalry just west of the town of Gettysburg. So in this region here, they saw some small group of Union cavalry, and they decided, they're nothing. We can blast straight through them. We can go loot the town of Gettysburg. We can take what we want to. It's not going to be a big deal whatsoever. Little did they know that they were actually starting the biggest battle in American history, at least to that point. Now, at around 7:30 in the morning, the first shots ring out, and it's just some picket firing to make sure the Union knows the Confederates are coming. But after that, throughout the entire day, from really 9 o'clock in the morning until 5 o'clock in the afternoon, there's fighting going on just west of the town. But as the day goes on, the Confederates get more and more and more troops coming from the area of Chambersburg, coming from the area of Carlisle, coming from the area of Harrisburg or Camp Hill, and they start to outnumber the Union troops. By the end of the day, they have 27,000 troops, and the Union only has 20,000 troops. I do want to share with you, I went to Gettysburg last week and went to some of the scenes to try to expand on some of these things. So I'd like you to take a look at these videos where I try to explain some of the different places to check out if you ever get to Gettysburg. But also did a fairly comprehensive explanation of what happened on these battlefield locations. Now, the Union, under John Buford, they realized, let's see if I have Buford here. Here he is. So, John Buford realized that the best ground on the Battle of Gettysburg, or this area of Gettysburg, was located just south of the town. If he could find any way to slow down the Confederates and keep them from getting the high ground, the Union might stand a chance in the battle. But he only had his cavalry. He only had a small force. And he didn't necessarily know if the infantry was right behind him. He didn't know if they were going to be able to get there really quick. Now, he sent messengers back to John F. Reynolds to try to get them there as fast as he possibly get them there to Gettysburg as fast as they possibly could get there. But he wasn't necessarily sure that he was going to be in the clear and he was going to have any kind of backup. Luckily, he did. And within an hour, John F. Reynolds' men show up. But for John F. Reynolds, it didn't turn out too well. He gets on the field, and he's a general. He probably should be somebody that kind of sticks towards the back. But the firing got very thick, and everything was quite confusing. And so he decides to charge up forward and try to get his men moving. In the midst of it, he's actually looking back and trying to direct some of his men. He gets hit in the back of the neck with a bullet and slumps over his horse and dies instantly. But this guy was a Lancaster County man, a great and well-respected general, somebody that even Lee and Longstreet talked about and highly respected. And here he dies on the first day of Gettysburg. He's one of those guys that turned down command of the Army of the Potomac. He could have been somebody that was completely safe in any battle because he would have been so far back leading these men and making the decisions that he would not have been close to the fight or close to being killed. But yet he ends up getting killed 15 minutes into his action here at Gettysburg. But he got his men here fast enough. He got the infantry here. They were the lead group, lead corps to show up to support John F. Reynolds. And another piece here, I love this History Channel feature here. And so come back and take a look at this video. It's a fantastic piece. And honestly, a lot of the movies when it comes to Gettysburg and different Civil War battles are too rosy and too nice. This one's nasty. And the Civil War is nasty. And it deserves to be dealt with in this sense. And so I want you to take a look at this video because it shows it in a very real sense. Now, as the day went on, despite the fact that John F. Reynolds got his men here, the Confederates did outnumber the Union by 7,000, as you can see right here. And The Confederates kept getting troops from this area around Camp Hill, like on this Harrisburg Road, and they were starting to get around the Union's right flank. The Union felt they had no other choice but to retreat. So they retreated through the town of Gettysburg, and they were lucky for this guy right here. One of the other Corps commanders that shows up, another general for the Union, was Winfield Scott Hancock. And he also, just like John Buford, recognized the importance of the high ground here in the Battle of Gettysburg. And so he started trying to get every single soldier that was just scattering through the town of Gettysburg towards Cemetery Hill and get them concentrated, get them on the high ground, and go take the best land on the battlefield. So he gets them there. And so all these scattering troops that have no place to really go, he gets them to the place that's going to be the best for them. And then the rest of the Union Army can show up, and they're going to have the high ground. They're going to have the best ground on this field. Now, at the same time, here's a huge problem for the Confederacy. And here's where the loss of Stonewall Jackson affects them immensely. And this goes back to our objective of understanding why the South loses this battle of Gettysburg, what caused them to lose this battle. Stonewall Jackson died just 2 months before this. His corps is now divided up between two men, A.P. Hill and this guy right here you see on the left, Richard Ewell. Richard Ewell's a good fighter, but he doesn't necessarily have the kind of acumen that Stonewall Jackson had on a battlefield. Robert E. Lee tells Richard Ewell, sends a message up to Ewell, telling him specifically to take Cemetery Hill, take that high ground, if practicable, at the end of the day. Take Cemetery Hill if practicable. Richard Ewell, after having his men travel about 18 miles to get here, they're tired. They just also fought for a little while. He decides, nightfall's coming. I'm not going to push him forward. I'm not going to take Cemetery Hill. What most historians say is this. If Richard Ewell takes that hill, if he takes this high ground, and the Union was a mess. They didn't have all their troops here yet, and a lot of the troops were still scattered through the town. If Richard Ewell tries to take Cemetery Hill, he probably takes it without too much of an immense fight. And now the Confederates get the high ground. The Union's probably going to retreat, and the Confederates get their win in the north on northern soil, and they might win the entire battle and win the entire war. If Richard Ewell would have taken Cemetery Hill, the entire battle is different. The Confederates win the Battle of Gettysburg, and they probably win the entire Civil War. Historians say if Stonewall Jackson got that order, he's going to take that hill. It doesn't matter if they're tired. They're taking that hill. Richard Ewell decided, nah, my men are too tired. I'm not going to make them go on that. I'm not going to make them take that hill. And so he lets them rest for the night, and now for the next 2 days, the Confederacy is going to try again and again to bash at the Union and take that hill. And they'll never be able to do it. So Richard Ewell, if he would have taken this hill at this moment here at the end of the first day at Gettysburg, the entire battle is a different story. I believe that. Most historians believe that, but he didn't. He decided they were too tired, and it totally changes the battle. So here's your first huge cause of why the Confederacy lost the Battle of Gettysburg. Now, there's no assessment for today. Go back and take a look at those videos. Just be prepared to be able to answer questions related to this lesson on Wednesday's quizzes. Again, go back and take a look at the videos. They're fantastic. And I'll see you tomorrow.